Hello and a very warm welcome to this week's CMA Showcase video. Today it's my absolute privilege to be joined by none other than Sue Hedley. She's a CMA member. We are so proud to have her with us. So Sue, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Janie. It's great to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to chat to you.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, Sue, what I think would be a wonderful way to kick this off is for you to just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us about the work that you do first and foremost.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Sue Hedley, and my company is Confidence First Coaching. And what I do basically is I work with professional women who are typically aged kind of 45 and above. So they're approaching or into midlife. And that particular niche really means a lot to me because obviously I was there myself. I'm now 62. And I want to help those women who look at the next 15 to 20 years of their working lives and kind of basically go, yuck. No, thank you very much. Something needs to change. And that was kind of where I was a few years ago. So I'm working with those women to help them look at what the future holds for them. You know, what is it that needs to change?
That is such an important niche, and it's a niche that's really very overlooked, I think. Yeah, you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because that age group sort of it coincides with sort of so many life changes, including menopausal changes, and that throws up so much for us as professional women, doesn't it? It does make life extra challenging. And also, I think the other side of things that's very often overlooked is the fact that we end up being sort of two-ended carers, where you've, you know, potentially got youngsters, younger people to look after, and potentially older parents or and so on. So there's so much going on for women, and I think so many people don't actually understand that, and we're trying to keep careers going at the same time. So my goodness, you're providing such a valuable service. So what does it look like? So if, you know, I'm sure that you've got lots of women watching this video going, hang on a second, it sounds like this lady's talking about me. I mean, myself included, you know, you know, if somebody came to see you, a woman comes to see you, what could she expect? How do you work with her?
Well, basically, obviously, each client is unique, first of all.
Yes.
And it's important to kind of see everybody as an individual. Having said all that, there are certain things that sort of regularly come up that I regularly have to kind of, to be honest, address with clients. The first thing is when you've spent the first kind of X years of your life, as you say, looking after your kids, you know, being part of a family group, and that being your main priority, women actually forget to look after themselves quite often. They forget that it's okay to put themselves and what they need first. That kind of feeds into our limiting self-beliefs. You know, we all have these invisible barriers, I call them. They're kind of rules that dictate how we live our life. And one of the most important things that I do when I try to do that as early as possible in the relationship is to look at everybody's limiting self-beliefs. You know, let's just get them out in the open. And then I use NLP, hypnotherapy, coaching, all those tools that we've got, you know, as coaches to just to help people kind of move on. So that's the first bit that's really important. Also, teaching people how to dream, how to kind of visualize what the future looks like. You know, what is it that really matters to them? And again, all kinds of coaching exercises and techniques. But it's about giving those women the space to explore, you know, just being in that space with them and asking the right questions, you know. And I mean, a good example, I had a lady came to me and she was in her early 50s. She and her husband had both moved sort of from kind of down south up to the north of England. Her husband had taken sort of almost semi-retirement. She wanted to work, but she was feeling really stuck. She just didn't know what it was. Did she want to go back into the same role? She didn't know. She'd got a couple of interviews lined up, but she was pretty stuck. So the first thing we did in the first session was we uncovered her limiting self-beliefs. And sometimes it takes a couple of sessions. It doesn't always happen straight away. With this client, we were lucky. We got straight there. We nailed it. And I did some NLP work with her. and she just cried, and she said it's the sheer relief of having that weight lifted. And we were originally going to have 6 sessions. She only needed 3, and then she was off and running. She'd got her eye on some jobs, and she was confident, and it was great. That's just an example, which is maybe more useful than me just rabbiting on about theory, you know.
That's fantastic. Yes, I think I suppose we've got people who are either in the profession and understand terms like NLP, but for somebody who's viewing this and they don't know what NLP actually is, can you sort of give the in a nutshell type of version so that people know what it is? You know, because a lot of people sort of think, well, I'm going to somebody for some sort of therapy or treatment or what have you, but there's always a reticence because they don't really know kind of what the what format it takes. So can you explain what would happen when somebody comes to see you during a session?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, just that's a really good point, and I should have thought that, which is NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming, and basically it's a way of kind of resetting you back to your default thinking. You know, people weren't born feeling sort of unconfident. They weren't born with sort of low self-worth, all those kind of things. So somewhere along the line, life's kind of got in the way. So what we want to do is reset those things back. So if I'm doing NLP during a coaching session, it typically involves asking the client to sort of sit quietly, to close their eyes, and kind of guiding them on a little bit of a journey, really, to a certain extent, asking questions based on the responses I get. I will, you know, sort of do various different exercises. So making sure the client feels safe and comfortable with that. I would never do it if the client felt, same with hypnotherapy. If they're not comfortable with it, we'll find another way, you know. So that's obviously one of the main things. So during a session, there are different types of coaching that I do, of course, so it always varies slightly. So if I'm doing growth coaching, then it's really, well, I need to look at my career maybe, and I need to look at a couple of different areas to focus on. So it's always driven by the client. What is it that you want to work on? What are your overall goals? We always have to keep those in mind. And then each session is a progression, going closer to that goal. And on the way, uncovering where maybe the client's getting in their own way, limiting self-beliefs, that kind of thing. So
yes,
each session is driven by the client.
It sounds extraordinarily empowering. I mean, that's the main thing that I'm sort of getting from what you're saying. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of sort of disempowerment, particularly for women, and particularly for women of a certain age. And so, you know, it sounds to me as though you're sort of putting the power firmly back into that woman's hands. And I love the way that you describe it with things like limiting self-belief. You know, I think that so many of us know that we've got these limitations in our own minds, but I think it sounds to me as though you are providing a tool set in order for women to be able to overcome those. Does that sound like fair comment to you?
Yes, it absolutely sums it up. You know, what I want is for my clients, although I get fond of them and I love working with them, I want them not to need me anymore. You know, so yes, I'll share all different sorts of techniques that they can use to take away from the sessions. So that, as you say, that empowered is the word, basically. You know, I had a client came to me recently. She'd been off sick from work sort of back before Christmas, and that had gone into the new year. And she just really started to lose her confidence and wasn't confident to leave the house on her own. She started to get really sort of phobic about leaving the house. I did some NLP work with her, and I shared a technique that she could take away and she could do. And within that first week, she'd been to the gym 3 times. She'd driven her son to school. And when I called her to see how she was doing, she was at the supermarket. You know, and she didn't have any more sessions. It was just the one session.
That's amazing.
She was totally empowered because I gave her I managed to tune in straight away and give her the tools that she needed. You know, so that was fabulous.
Yes. Oh, that's so liberating, isn't it? And so wonderful for you as a practitioner, just to sort of really get that kind of feedback and know that the work that you're doing is making such a beautiful difference in people's lives. So, Sue, if somebody wanted to come to you, do they actually have to physically come to you, or can you work with them online at all?
I do most of my work online, to be honest. I live in North Wales, in Snowdonia, which is beautiful, but it's a long way away from anywhere, basically. So I do most of my work on Zoom, and that's great. The benefit of that for the clients, of course, is they can do it in their own home. So they're in an environment that they feel comfortable in.
Yes.
So they don't have to contend with all that first. So that works really well, actually.
That's brilliant. And actually, it's very interesting because what you were just saying about the lady who really lacked confidence and was almost at the point of agoraphobia from the sounds of it, how wonderful that you can actually do this work in such a way to empower your client, such that she doesn't have to go out. So she doesn't have to, that's a hurdle that she doesn't have to cross, which can be very, very frightening for people if they've lost confidence. And so many people do. So that's amazing. So how do people find out about you?
Well, they can go to my website, which is www.confidencefirstcoaching.com, and there's options there to get in contact. Also to book what we call a discovery session, just a chance to have a chat with me. I normally give people a little taste of what it feels like to be coached. So all that stuff's available on my website. Anybody can call on my coaching mobile number, which is obviously a UK-based number. It's 07539 825238. Absolutely no problem with that. And if I'm not available, I'll call you back. So leave a message. So yes, you can get hold of me in any of those ways. And obviously you can get in contact directly from the website. Just fill in the form and I promise I'll get back to you.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic, Sue. Well, listen, thank you. I mean, I'd love to have you back another time because I think we've just scratched the surface here. But I think what we've done is very successfully given our viewers a very, very good overview of the work that you do and how to contact you in order to be able to sort of get hold of you and actually embark on a journey with you. It sounds so liberating and so empowering. And I just want to salute you for actually supporting women in this particularly sort of vulnerable age group where we're very, very often overlooked. So I just want to say hats off to you. Thank you for joining me today, and please do join us again.
I'd love to, and thank you, Janie. It's been really nice to be here with you.
Oh, pleasure. Okay, thank you, and we'll talk soon. All the best. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.